All right, this is not a guitar lesson video, but it is something that I get asked about quite a bit, and it's about hand pain. One of the things that I do, I'm going to talk about two things, and one of them is going to be paraffin wax baths, and then the other one is going to be some stretches. But I soak my hands in a hot wax bath every morning. About 20 years ago, I had some hand issues where I really thought I was going to have to stop playing guitar for a living. It was really had gotten to that point. And the doctor I was going to at the time said, hey, why don't you get one of those wax baths like they have in the nail salons and soak your hands in it and see what that does. So I ordered one off of Amazon. It showed up, and within about 3 days, most of my issues went away. Now, I'm not a doctor. They do advertise these things for people that have arthritis and all kinds of other hand issues. I'm assuming it loosens the muscles up with the heat. It promotes blood flow through the muscles. It probably helps the body flush lactic acid out, I guess. I generally don't have any kind of hand pain anymore. I also have really great flexibility and really good reach. So what I'm going to do is, I've talked about this in the past. I actually shot a little bit of video. I had to get a new wax bath. These things last me, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years, and then they die. Typically, I put it, mine is in the laundry room on top of the dryer, so it's out of the way. It can be kind of messy sometimes. But what I do is I soak my hand in the wax. I usually have my iPad and I'll watch, YouTube or something like that for, a few minutes. I catch up on my my YouTube viewing. If I do that in the morning, I'm pretty good all day. And then if I've got a gig at night, usually before my process or methodology on gig nights is that I'll come home, I'll eat dinner, and then I'll soak my hands and then take a shower before I head out the door. And that'll actually work pretty good for me for the whole evening. So I had to get a new bath. The old one had started leaking, actually, and they wear out. I've bought these things many times over. They have all kinds. They have them as cheap as probably like 40 bucks on Amazon. The one I get's about 170, and I like it because it holds up to 9 pounds of wax. I'm a large person with large hands, and I kind of like to have the wax go up to about there, so I get some of the wrist and forearm too. The smaller wax baths won't do that for me. So let's talk about this real quick. Here is the waxer without any wax in it, brand new. The little plastic thing is to keep you from putting your hand on it's like a aluminum bottom of the container and burning your hand. So there's the plastic thing, and then we put the wax in it. It comes in a couple different ways. You can get it unscented, scented. In this case, this is just what came with it, and it's these little pellets that's supposed to melt pretty quickly. I'm going to put a link to another video with some physical therapists at the end of this video where they talk about using this. And one of the things that they mention is that you really have to make sure you use the paraffin wax that's specified for this kind of hand waxer, because if you use other kinds of wax, the melt temperature is higher and you can burn yourself. Apparently the melting temperature of this kind of paraffin wax is like 119 degrees or something like that. So it's comfortable to put your hand in and let it sit in. If you use other kinds of wax, candle making, or they mention a bunch of other things, but other kinds of wax don't melt until 170 degrees, and that will cause you some damage. So don't do that. So I just unboxed the wax bath, put the wax in it. It had to sit overnight, and then I did a little bit of me using it this morning. Now I've got another couple pounds of wax to fill it up. This is just the 6 pounds that comes in the box. And there's room for 3 more. I usually have 8 to 9 pounds in it, like I said, so that it actually covers my hand and about half of my forearm. That also helps too, because what happens for me is that a lot of times my hands don't hurt, but actually everything that articulates up here bothers me too, so that kind of helps. And I'm going to explain something I do afterwards that helps with that. So typically I'll soak my hand in the wax. Now, you can get gloves that are disposable that you can put in the wax. I've seen the instructions where they say dip it in a couple times and then take it out and let the wax dry. In the video with the physical therapy guys, that's kind of what they do. I just put my hand in the wax and let it cook for 5 minutes. Keep in mind that you should read the instructions if you get one of these things and follow those instructions. This is just kind of what works for me. And I've been doing it. I've been using it a long time. Actually, about 18 years I've been using a wax bath for my hands. It's made a big difference. But I also understand that people have different tolerances for heat, and there's liability issues. So use common sense, read the instructions, and then use your best judgment with these things. Now, before you put your hands in the wax, you really should use a lotion. And I've been using this Cetaphil lotion. And what that does is that when you go to take the wax off of your hands, it just slides off. And you're going to see here in this video, I basically just slide the wax off and put it back in the waxer. Now, I'm the only person that uses this wax bath. So it's just me. It's sanitary. Every once in a while, you have to change out the wax, get clean wax. If more than one person uses the wax bath, you really need to dispose of the wax in the trash and start over again. Like when you take it off your hand, and they talk about that in another video too. So I'm giving you kind of how I use it, and then a link to some other people that use it in their physical therapy practice too. So once both hands have been dunked and both of them are out, and I let the wax cool as much as possible so it hardens, and it's almost like a glove on the hand. All right, then I'll slide it off, put it back in the waxer, and then I'll go wash up in the sink. Just use soap and hot water. So I'm going to show you one thing that I do that also helps with the forearm. So after I've done all the waxing and I've washed my hands, while I still got the warm water going, I'll take my fingers, and if you feel between, like on the top of your arm, there's kind of a little valley here between the muscles. All right, so I'll start up there and put the fingers in there, and then I'll rotate the hand. And I'll just work down that valley like that. All right, and what that does is it seems to kind of loosen or break up any of the fascia, the stuff that covers the muscles. Also kind of loosens up the muscles a little bit for me. Since I've been doing that, I really have very few issues with the forearms. All right, and you can also, like, if you move your fingers, you can kind of feel everything move here. It doesn't hurt to put your fingers there and then rotate. Do all of these things slowly. Don't use too much pressure. Obviously, when I talk about any kind of stretches, you definitely want to use some common sense. Make sure that you're actually not doing anything in a fast or jerky motion, because that could actually cause more damage. So that's the wax bath thing. The paraffin wax thing, like I said, I've suggested it for a long time. Someone suggested, I have a student in Australia who ordered one and then said, hey, you really should make a video showing us how to use this, because he kept sending me questions about how I use it. So that's how I use the wax bath. I'd have a hard time living without it, but it actually allows me to continue playing music every day for lots of hours a day. So that's the first thing. Let's talk a little bit about stretches. So the first stretch that I'm going to do here is also for kind of the top of the wrist and the forearms. Right, put your hands at your sides with your the top of your palm facing backwards, and the first thing you're going to do is and I should show you from this angle, is bring the hands up like that, and then once you've gone as far as you can with it flat, then curl the fingers under, and you should feel that all up the front of the arm and in the wrist. And once you've got that, then rotate the hands slowly outwards. And that twist is going to feel pretty good. All right, so that's the first one. That's a good standing one. The next one, go ahead and hold your hand like you're holding a tray, like a serving tray. And then take your other hand and put it on top of the palm, and then push straight out, nice and slow. And once you have that fully extended, put a little bit of pressure on the hand, bend it down, and just feel that tighten. And then once you're comfortable there, then rotate it in towards your center just a little bit. All right, and hold it. No, don't jerk these things around. Really be careful with this. And once you've done that, let's do it with the other side. You hold the tray, put your hand on there, extend the arm, and then slowly rotate in towards the center. Now there's a ton of other stretches. But for me, if I can stretch the forearms like that, my hands are usually in pretty good shape. I warm up on the guitar. I play before I go to a gig. I try and warm up every morning a little bit. But these are the things that actually allow me to kind of keep my hands healthy. If you're just sitting down cold and picking up and ripping on the guitar, you're going to have overuse issues. If you've got bad technique, let me rephrase that. If you have inefficient technique, you're also going to have hand issues. If you have any kind of undue tension, like you play like that, you're going to have hand issues or physical issues. You want to play relaxed. You want to make sure that you warm up like an athlete would. The stretching helps. For me, the wax bathing is kind of like physical therapy. You know, it's one of those things that if I didn't have it, you know, I'd probably cause irreparable damage to my hands. I'd really have a hard time playing or doing much of anything. So that's kind of the deal with the wax bath. It really helps. It's not for everyone. The other thing is that you kind of have to leave it on and heat it if you want to use it on a regular basis, because it takes so long for the wax to melt. With the smaller ones, it'll probably take less time for the wax to melt, but it's kind of hard to like remember to turn it on and then like 3 hours, 4 hours later, then come back and melt your hands. Especially for me, I want to do it in the morning before I take a shower, right when I get up, so that my hands are actually nice and warmed up for the day. So I like having a place where I can just leave this thing plugged in and on all the time. If you're gonna try and just turn it on when you need it, you're gonna have to wait 3 or 4 hours for the wax to melt on a smaller one. On a bigger one like I've got, it takes, you know, probably 10 hours for all of the wax to melt. I still have another couple pounds of wax to put into mine to kind of fill it up to where I like it too. So it's not super convenient, but if you've got it, it really does make a difference.